Alright, continue with the part 48. Um, like I said, just pay attention because I'm gonna be reading the whole thing. So, this is a full story of Stephen King of Graveyard Shift. Yeah. Alright. 2 a.m. Friday. Hall was sitting on the bench by the elevator, the only place on the third floor where a working Joe could catch a smoke. When Warwick came up, he wasn't happy to see Warwick. The foreman wasn't supposed to show up on free during the graveyard shift. He was supposed to stay down in his office on the basement, drinking coffee for the urine that stood on the corner of his desk. Besides, it was hot. It was the hottest June on records in Gates Falls, in the Orange Crush thermometer. Not the the Orange Crush. I'm talking about the soda right here. So yeah. So the Orange Crush thermometer, which was also by the elevator, had once rested at 94 degrees at 3 in the morning. God, only knew what kind of a hellhole the mill was on the 3 to 11 shift. So yeah. Hall worked on the picker machine, a bulky gadget manufactured by the defunct Cleveland firm in 1944. Um, he had only been working in the mill since April. Not bad. Which meant he was still making minimum $1.78 an hour. Which was still alright. No wife, no steady girl, no alimony. He was a drifter, and during the last 3 years, he had moved on with his thumb for Berkeley, college student, to Lake Tao. Is that Lake Thao? Is that how you say it? I don't. How do you say it? I guess Lake. I cannot pronounce that last name. I'm really sorry. Busboy, the Galveston, the stevedore to Miami, short order cook to Wheeling, taxi driver and dishwasher to Gates Falls, main picker machine operator. He didn't figure on moving again until the snow fell. He was a solitary person, then he liked the hours for 11 to 7 when the blood flow of the big mill is at its closest. So this is the rats. This temperature is increased by 120 degrees. So look up the rats, guys. Not to mention the temperature, the only thing he did not like was the rats. The third floor was long and deserted, lit only by the sputtering glow of a fluorescence, and like the other levels of the mill, it was relatively silent and inoccupied, sorry, at least by the humans. The rats were another matter. The only machine on the free was the picker. The rest of the floor was storage from a 90-pound bags of fibber which had yet to be sorted by Hall's long gear tooth machine. I mean, look at the rats. These rats look pretty angry. They're probably gonna like attack you, but yeah, this is this is not for children because you guys don't want rats to like attack you. Yeah. This is only for like mature teenagers. This is only for like mature teenagers, not for kids, not for 2-year-olds or anything like that. They can be so scared. Parents, don't let your baby watch this. It's so scary to them. Or don't let any of your kids watch this because this full story is actually scary and it can actually scare your child too. So just remember, you guys, which had yet to be sorted by the Hollow's long ear-toothed machine. They were stacked like the leg sausages in long rows. Some of them, especially the discontinued Meltons and irregular slips, for which they were no orders years old, and dirty gray and with industrial wastes. Sorry. They made fine nesting places for rats, huge fat belied creatures with rabbit eyes and bodies that jumped with lice and vermin. Hall had developed a habit of collecting a small arsenal of soft drink cans from the trash barrel during his break. He pegged them at the rats during the times when work was slow, retrieving them later as his leisure. Only this time Mr. Foreman had caught him. Ooh, sorry. Coming up the stairs instead of using the elevator like the sneaky son of a bitch. And everyone said that he was. What are you up to, Hall? The rats, the Hall said, realizing how lame that must sound now that all the rats had snuggled safely back into their houses. I peg cans at them when I see them. Warwick nodded once. Briefly, he was a big, beefy man with a crew cut. His shirt sleeves were rolled up as his tie was pulled down. He looked at Hall closely. We don't pay you to chuck cans at rats, mister. We don't pay you to chuck cans at rats, mister. Not even if you pick them up again. Harry hasn't been sit down in order for 20 minutes. Hall answered, thinking, why couldn't you stay at the hill and put your drink in your coffee? Yeah, I get it. My video's uploaded. I gotta check something real quick. I don't think it was 24 minutes, was it? I can't run it through the picker if I don't have it. Warwick nodded, as if the topic no longer interested him. Maybe you'll take a walk up and see Winskonski, he said. 5 to 1, he's reading a magazine while the crap piles on in his buttons. Hall didn't say anything. Warwick suddenly pointed. There's one. Get the bastard. Hall fired, but Nehai can be had been holding with the one listening overhand motion. The rat, which had been watching him for a top one with the fabric bags while its bright buckshot eyes fled with one faint squeak, Warwick threw back of his head and locked as Hall went after the can. I can see you what I came to see about something else actually, sorry. I came to see about something else, Warwick said. Is that so? Next week, 4th of July week. Hall nodded. The mill will be shut down Monday to Saturday. Vacation week for men without at least 1 year's tenure. Layoff of weeks for men with less than a year. You want to work? Hall shrugged. Doing what? We're going to clean the whole. We're going to clean the whole basement level. Nobody's touched it for 12 years. My bad. Nobody's touched it for 12 years. Hell of a mess. We're going to use hoses. The town zoning committee getting on the board of directors. Warwick looked steady at Hall. You want it or not, 2 an hour, double time on the 4th. We're working on the graveyard shift because it'll be cooler. Hall calculated he could clear maybe 75 bucks after taxes. Better than a goose egg he had been looking forward to. Alright. Report down by the dye house next Monday. Hall watched him as he started back to the stairs. Warwick paused halfway there and turned back to look at Hall. You must be a college boy, didn't you? Mr. Foreman, a worker who supervises and directs other workers. Hall uses them to work for Warwick sarcastically. Hall uses this term for Warwick. Hall nodded. Okay, college boy. I'm keeping it in mind. He left. Hall sat down with a little more smoke, holding a soda can in one hand and watching the rats. He couldn't imagine how it would be in the basement. The sub-basement. Actually, a level below the die mouse, or die house. There's some mouses that can be around. Damp, dark, full of spiders, and rotten cloth, and ooze for the livers and rats, maybe even bats, and aviators for rodent and family. Gah! Hall fruited the can hard, then smiled faintly to himself as a faint sound of the warlock's voice came down through the overhead ducts. Reading Harry Wisconski, the right act. Okay, college boy, I'm keeping it in mind. He stopped smiling abruptly and butted his smoke. A few moments later, the Wisconski started to stint rough on nylon down through the blowers, and Hall went to work. And after a while, the rats came out and sat on top of the backs and in the back, like a bags in the back of the long room, watching him with their unblinking black eyes. They looked like a jury. 11 p.m. Monday. They were about 36 men sitting around when Warwick came in and wearing a pair of old jeans tucked into high rubber boots. It was about Tuesday. Hall had been listening to Harry Wisconski, who was enormously fat, enormously lazy, and enormously gloomy. It's gonna be a mess. Wisconski was saying when Mr. Foreman came in, you wait and see. We're all going home blacker in midnight in Persia. Okay, Warwick said. We strung 60 light bulbs down there, and so it should be bright enough for you to see what you're doing. You guys, he pointed to a bunch of men that had been leaning against the drying spools. I want you to hook up the hoses over the main water conduit by the stairwell. You can unroll them down the stairs. We got about 80 yards for each man, and that should be plenty. Don't get cute and spray one of your buddies, and you'll send them to the hospital. They pack wallop. Somebody will get hurt. Wisconski protest sorely. Wait and see. The other guy is Warlick, said, pointing to the group at the hall and Wisconski were part of. You're the crap crew tonight. You got into the pairs with an electric wagon for each team. There's old office furniture, backs of cloth, hunks of busted machinery, you name it. We're going to pilot by our air shaft at the west end. Anyone who doesn't know how to run a wagon? No one raised a hand. The electric wagons were battery-driven contraptions, like a miniature dump trucks. They developed a nauseating stink after continual that reminded Hall of the burning power lines. Okay, Warwick said. We got the basement divided up into sections. Well, and it will be done by Thursday, Friday, and we'll chain hoist by the crop questions. Crap out. Questions? There were none study halls. Hall studied the sportsman's face closely, and he had a sudden premonition of a strange thing coming. The idea pleased him. He did not like Warwick very much. Fine, Warwick said. Let's get at it. 2 a.m. Wednesday. 2 a.m. Tuesday. Hall was bushed and very tired of listening to Wisconski. It was tomorrow at Wednesday. Yeah, it wasn't the next day yet, so just to remind you guys. Hall was bushed and very tired of listening to Wisconski's steady patter of profane complaints. He wondered if it would do any good to bell Wisconski. He doubted it. It would just give Wisconski something else to bitch about. Hall had known it would be bad, but this was a murder for one thing. He hadn't anticipated the smell, the polluted stink of the river mixed with the odor of the decaying fabric, rotten masonry, vegetable matter. In a far corner where they had begun. Hall had discovered a colony of huge white toadstools poking their way up through the shattered sediment. His hands had come in premonition. Premonition. A strong feeling that something is about to happen, especially something unpleasant. Contact with them. As he pulled and yanked at a rusty gear-toothed wheel, as they felt curiously more bloated, like a flesh like of a man afflicted with dropsy, the bulbs couldn't banish the 12-year darkness. It could only push it back a little and cast sickly yellow glow over the whole mess. The place looked like the shattered nave of a desecrated church, while its hiding ceiling and mammoth discarded machinery that they would never be able to move. Its wet halls, overgrown with patches of yellow moss, and a tunnel choir that was the water from the hoses running in a half-clogged sewer network that eventually emptied into the river below the falls. In the rats, huge ones that made up the foes of Fertilic looked like dwarves. God knew what they were eating down there, and they were continually overturning boards. And Dax revealed the huge nests of shredded newspaper, watching the atavistic, loathing as the pups fled into the cracks, and crannies, their eyes huge and blind with the continuous darkness. Let's stop for a smoke. Wisconski said he sounded out of breath, but have no idea why. He has been go-bricking all night. It was about the time. They were currently out of sight for anyone else. All right. He leaned against the edge of the electric wagon and lit up. I never should have let Warwick talk me into this, Wisconski said dolefully. This ain't the work for a man, but he was mad at the other night when he caught me in a crapper up on the floor with my pants up. Christ, was he mad. Hall said nothing. He was thinking about the Warwick. My throat hurts. I had to drink some Mountain Dew to help my throat soothe easier. Feeling a little better, but alright, anyway. And about the rats, strange how the two things seem tied together. The rats seem to have forgotten all about the men in their long way under this day under the mill. They were impudent and heartily afraid at all. One of them had sat up on his hind legs like a squirrel until Hall got into the kicking distance, and then had launched himself at his boot, biting at the lever, Hundreds, maybe thousands. He wondered how many varieties of disease they were carrying around in his black sump hole. In Warwick, something about him. I need the money, Wisconski said, but Christ, Jesus. Buddy, this ain't gonna work for you, man. Those rats. He looked around fearfully. It almost seems like they think. You ever wonder how it'll be? If he was little, then they were big. Oh, shut up, Hall said. Wisconski looked at him, wounded, to say, I'm sorry, buddy. It's just that he trailed off. Jesus, this place stinks. He cried, This ain't no kind of work for a man. The spider crawled off of the edge of the wagon and scrambled up his arm. He brushed it off at a choked sound of disgust. Come on, Hall said, snuffing a cigarette. The faster the quicker, I suppose. Wisconski miserably, I suppose. This is what they look. 4 a.m. Tuesday, lunchtime. We'll just have to wait until the next part. The next day. Hall and Wisconski sat with four of men, eating their sandwiches with black hands that not even industrial detergent could clean. Hall ate, looking in the foreman's little glass office. Warwick was drinking coffee and eating cold hamburgers with great relish. Ray Upson had to go home. Charlie Broadshoe said, He puke? Someone asked. I almost did. Nah, Ray'd eat cow flop before he'd sump hole A hole dug in the ground beneath the basement of a house in which rainwater of debris collects. How does your dog do in the basement? He probably won't like it. He hates the smell of bad trash, you know. Alright. I don't know how long I've been recording, but I read it since like 5, the fifth page right now. The puke. Sorry. Rat bit him. Hall looked up thoughtfully for the examination of Warwick. Is that so? He asked. Yeah, Brochy shook his head. I was teaming with him. God damnedest thing I ever saw. Jumped out of the hole in one of his old cloth bags. Must have been as big as a cat. Grabbed onto his hand and started chewing. Jesus, one of the man said, looking green. Alright, let me know if I'm going too fast. I think I am. Yeah, Brochy said. Ray screamed just like a woman, and I ain't blaming him. He bled like a pig. When that thing let go, no sir, it had to belt it 3 or 4 times. With the board, it would. Before it would. Ray was just saying about crazy. He stomped it until it was nothing but a mess of fur. Damn it thing, a damnedest thing I've ever saw. Warwick put a bandage on him and sent him home. Told him to go to the doctor's tomorrow. That was a big of a bastard, somebody said. If he was heard, Warwick got to his feet in his office, stretched, and then came to the door. Time we get back with it. The men got to their feet slowly, and eating up all the time they possibly could, stowing their dinner jackets, getting cold drinks, buying candy bars, and they started down heels, clunking spiritedly on a steel grillwork out of the stair risers. Warwick passed Hall, clapping on his shoulder. How's it going, college boy? He didn't wait for an answer. Come on, Hall said patiently for Wisconsin, who was tying his shoelace. They went downstairs. 7 a.m. Tuesday. Hall and Wisconsin walked out together, and it seemed to Hall that he had somehow inherited that pull. The Wisconsin was almost comically dirty, his fat moon face smeared like that of a small boy who has just been trashed by the town bully. There was none of the usual rough banter for the other men, but pulling of the shirt tails, the crocks about who was keeping Tony's life warm. Between the hours of 1 and 4, nothing but silence and an occasional hawking sound as someone spat on a dirty floor. You want a lift? Wisconsin asked him hesitantly. Thanks. They didn't talk as they rode up to Mill Street and crossed the bridge. They exchanged only a brief word when Wisconsin dropped him off in the front of his apartment. Hall went directly to his shower, still thinking about Harwick, trying to place whatever it was about Mr. Foreman that drew him, made him feel like that somehow they had become tied together. He slept as soon as his head hit the pillow, but his sleep was broken and restless. He dreamed of rats. I usually have bad nightmares like this, but rats, I get really scared of rats too. All right, like I said, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'm gonna start with. I'm gonna read the next. I'm gonna read the next part on part 49. So I'm gonna continue with this. All right, see you guys on part 49.